Hello and welcome to How to Train Your Emotional Support Dog, helping dogs create deeper connections with their people. Right now we are diving into Module 6 of the theoretical training aspect of this program, providing balanced training. But first, let's review a few of the key concepts that we covered in Module 5. We talked about how to understand your puppy's language. We talked about how to help your puppy understand your language. And one of the most important aspects of puppy training is exploring puppy enrichment and puppy socialization. One of the absolute most important parts of puppy and dog training. Chapter 1. Let's begin with positive motivational training. Key concepts covered in this introductory chapter. Good training feels like good conversation. It's a sharing experience. We do not focus on power over the dog. We do, however, focus on enhancing the experience shared between the both of you. Your dog will be counting on you for precise information. Hold yourself accountable to your puppy. It takes commitment. Sometimes it's just not a good day for you to feel like you want to do the puppy training. But please, follow through even if it's for 30 seconds and then call it a success. Your puppy's job is to focus on you, to pay attention. And you're going to find that the more training you do, the more your puppy will want to focus on you and pay attention to you. Does training really work? Studies show that 96% of all dogs surrendered to shelters have no obedience training, meaning the people can't handle their dogs. They feel like they're living with a stranger. Something terrible happens, or many terrible things happen, so they have to surrender the dog. Don't be one of those people. Keep your pinky promise to your new dog to live together happily ever after with a commitment to training. Seize the moment. There are many opportunities to train. Allow flexibility. You can train around the house. Example, during the day, around the house, you may have several opportunities to do a 10 to 60 second training session. One example would be you're about to take your puppy outside. So, before you even open the door, you begin to teach a specific behavior, like waiting. Another example, you decide to have a cup of coffee, and while the coffee is brewing, you have plenty of time to teach the yes, no, or the puppy push-ups, or anything of that sort. Another example, when you go to the kitchen for something, lure the puppy to follow you. Every moment that he follows you is a good moment. These are just a few of the examples. You'll need to do your own planning of how to organize your time. Remember, templates are provided in the Module 1 downloads. The more you integrate these exercises into your dog's daily living experience, the quicker you'll see improvements in your dog's overall behavior and the relationship between you and Fido. Staying aware. During the training process, you'll find out much information about your puppy. So stay aware. If your puppy is very different today than he was yesterday, why is that? Is the puppy adaptable? Does training agree with her, or does she just constantly fight you? How quickly does the puppy rebound from a stressful situation? When we introduce something new, it's going to be scary. So how quickly does puppy rebound from that stress? Some dogs and puppies are extremely sensitive. We call those soft dogs. I have one of those, and anytime she sees something new, if it's just a tad bit more than she desires, she pouts for a week. Become familiar with your puppy's stress patterns. Are problems developing? If you begin a certain aspect of training, say luring, and all of a sudden your puppy starts biting any and every part of you, that's a problem, and we want to address it. How do we train? We train as a matter of teaching the dog this causes that. If you do this, that will happen. Cause and effect. And we primarily teach the cause and effect with positive reinforcement and distractions, as well as communication skills that we learned in a previous module. Positive reinforcement and distraction is rewarding for doing good and distracting and removing when they're doing bad. Say, for instance, the dog's chewing on a sock. So you distract her with something else and remove the sock. Performance criteria. Know what you want your dog to do as well as how you want it done before you ask her to do it. Don't make things up as you go. That will be so hard on your dog, and your progress will be very minimal. Know what you want your dog to do, how you want it done. For example, you're going on a loose leash walk. Determine prior to that walk where you want the puppy zone to be. Do you want to allow her the full extent of the 6-foot leash? Simply not pull? Make that a rule. Don't allow her 6 feet of the leash in one step, and then the next step allowing her only 2 feet of that 6-foot leash. Stay consistent. Let your dog know the rules so she can be successful. Consistency. Very, very, very important. Remember the communication skills we learned in a previous chapter? Consistency and communication. The intonation, the tone, the way you use the leash, the way you use the body language. Everything, consistency is extremely important. A major source of the dog's non-compliance, as a matter of fact, is generated by your inconsistencies. So if something's not working, the first question that I ask myself, and I invite you to ask yourself, is, what am I doing wrong? Understanding this will make training much more enjoyable for your doggy. Creating positive associations. Create positive associations with new experiences by linking them to food, play, or praise. Focus on new places and things. So if your dog becomes a little apprehensive about a parked vehicle that she's approaching during her walk, lure her over there with a piece of food. Play with her, praise her, make it a fun experience. Everything around that vehicle that she was initially apprehensive about becomes a good thing. And the same thing with new people. A new passerby, if you see her alerting just the slightest bit, make it a fun moment, an enjoyable moment. The same thing with dog. Try to introduce your dog to as many people, places, and things and dogs as possible. You learned a lot of this in a previous module as well. Puppy punishment is a bad idea. It creates negative associations with new experiences. It leaves a training void. If your puppy is frightened, there is very little training going on. Studies show it can even cause aggression and fear. As a matter of fact, fear is a major source of puppy and dog aggression. So if you just don't do it, problems will not be created that have to be addressed later. Differential reinforcement. When the dog behaves really well, you praise really well. For instance, if your puppy, for the first time, just bravely walked the tall, scary dog walk with loads of confidence, you want to reward her with a big chunk of chicken or something really valuable to the dog, and not just a pat on the head with a walk away. Quality of praise and level of rewards should usually reflect the quality of the dog's response in terms of speed, style, and precision as predetermined by you. What do you want your dog to do? Reward based on how she performs. Remember the golden rule. Nothing is written in stone. Though this is the norm, it's not written in stone. So sometimes you won't give your dog the huge, bountiful reward for doing something well. You don't want to let them predict when, where, and how rewards are going to happen. Otherwise, they will only work for rewards, and you do not want that to be the case. Cause and effect. When the puppy does do well, choose one of many rewards. You've got fun toys, you've got healthy dog food treats, you've got praise, whatever your dog loves. And no two dogs are the same, really, in regard to which one they love more. My dogs don't really care for a lot of touchy-feely praise. They like lots of intonation, lots of dramatic body language, and of course they love their healthy treats. So determine what type of praise your dog is most responsive to. When your puppy does not do well, distract the puppy from whatever she's doing. Say she's biting your pant leg, distract her with a toy, and then remove the puppy from your pant leg. Verbal corrections only when absolutely necessary. If she has something dangerous, there's obviously going to be a verbal or some sort of correction because it is our responsibility, obviously, to keep her safe. Verbal markers. This is a sound that predicts the reward or punishment. It can be voice or clicker. I'm not fond of the clicker because I don't want to rely on a thing to be able to work with my dog. If all of a sudden my dog does something and I want to praise her, I don't want to scrounge around for a clicker to mark that moment and then reward her. I like verbal markers. Markers allow us to communicate with the dog. It allows us to communicate right, wrong, cause, and effect. As an example, your dog sits really well. Quite often, you're not going to be able to get your treat in a timely manner in order to teach her that she did a wonderful thing. Therefore, we would provide a verbal marker, i.e., yes. Then she will know at that instant, oh, this was a wonderful thing. I did well. Then you won't have to be rushed to get your reward. Luring. Luring is a request. It's a nonverbal request. When we lure, we're not giving her verbal commands. We're luring with the treat. Dog responds. You mark, i.e. yes, and then you move and reward. So you'll put the treat in front of her nose, and the example here, she's teaching her dog how to walk between her legs. When the dog reached the goal, she marked with a verbal yes, and then gave the reward. The act of luring in and of itself is nonverbal. The mark is verbal. We are always on the lookout for good puppy behavior, trying to find something that she's doing well and rewarding her for it. For instance, we always want the puppy to pay attention to us. So anytime the puppy looks at us, she's engaging. We mark with a yes, and then we reward. Or say the puppy's just calmly laying down at your feet, being a good dog while you do your work. You will calmly praise her while she's resting. Anytime your puppy does something you like, mark it calmly, if she's resting, of course, because you don't want to mark it and then have her get excited and start running around. Mark it and reward. That is training through puppy engagement. Summary of Chapter 1. Your dog will be counting on you for precise information. Hold yourself accountable to your puppy. It takes commitment. Plan your training sessions. You can use the templates that I've provided in Module 1 downloads. Your puppy's job is to focus on you, to pay attention. Good training feels like good conversation. It's a sharing experience, not a power over experience. A sharing experience that enhances the relationship between you and Fido. That's the end of theoretical training. We are going to start diving now into the concentration of demonstration videos. I'll see you in the next video.